Hi, careerists. It's Kimberly Rob Baker with thislittle.brand.com, and I'm coming here with my new Wednesday day, which is Working Parent Wednesday. And the reason, don't run away if you're not a parent, because the reason I'm doing Working Parent Wednesday is twofold. One of the experiments I'm kind of thinking about this year is how can we integrate ourselves, right? So all parts of our lives. And if you're a parent, then the relationship you have with your children and how you balance your uh, energy with your children and your family, with your energy at work is important. And the other reason is that children are the best little gurus. And part of it is just how amazing they are that they come and they're kind of not messed up yet by society and by us and our stuff. And the other reason for that, I believe, is because of the power dynamic with adults. Even if they report to us at work or we somehow have a power dynamic over adults, there's still more of a societal structure and support around adults just using their power with children. Therefore, how we relate to our children when we're kind of supported by that big power structure tells us a lot about ourselves. So here's what I've learned this week. We're talking about role models this week, of course, and we began the week with Oprah, and we talked some yesterday about Pele and Anna Kournikova. And today's role model is actually Huck Finn. I was reading Huck Finn with my son, and he was just kind of getting blown away. Like this kid is 13. He's smoking a pipe. He has a pipe. This is my kid. And it's like, yeah, well, then they didn't really know about smoking and how bad it was. And the next thing is like, Huck unloaded his gun from the boat. He has a gun? This kid's 13 and he has a pipe and a gun. And I was looking at my son and thinking about, what does this pipe and this gun represent? And it's about freedom, right? Like Huck can do whatever the heck he wants. And he's grasped that freedom for himself largely. I mean, he had this abusive dad, and then he was with the old widow who was also very strict. But he was able to kind of grab his freedom by both hands and then make the choice to fight for Jim's freedom, even though everybody around him said that it was wrong of him because Jim was seen as property. And I just was thinking about what it is to be free and am I really cultivating that for my children? If my son believed something strongly, had a strong conviction that was entirely against what we believed, what would that be like for him? Am I giving him the space to have his own thoughts and his own beliefs? And, I realized there's very little time when my 9-year-old son is out of adult gaze. And even at night when he closes his room, he might hear the knock on his door and me saying like, hey, it's time to go to bed now, turn your light off. So I started thinking about the programs we have set up. He's got to pass a few developmental bars such as navigation and knowing our addresses, and he's got some things to learn. But I've told him that once he does that, he can start taking little trips around the neighborhood, going down to the store or the library. And he's excited about that, and it makes me nervous. So I'm thinking, like, what is my fear around that? Even though when I was a kid, I navigated the city alone many times and went when I was at relatives in West Virginia, we just got turned out for the day. We just went out in the woods in the neighborhood. And so what is it that's causing me fear about having developmentally appropriate independence and freedom for my children? And as I dropped that in, what came up for me was like messing up. I don't want him to mess up. Well, I've created a fairly safe container, right? He's good at crossing the street. He's got to pass these developmental hurdles. He's just going 2 blocks away. If he gets lost, it's not going to be a small problem. He'll find his way back. And so I was like, well, what is that about? And that messing up thing just kept coming up. And I was like, well, I have to allow myself to mess up, right? I could be messing up as a parent right now. I could be messing up at what I'm planning to do with my business. And I thought about it's that fear of messing up. It was my fear of messing up my stuff, not his at all. And I don't want to put my stuff on him. That's why I'm doing this work and inviting you to do the same. And so what I came up with for myself was I had this fear of messing up, and I thought, what could I replace that with? And the permission to mess up felt much better. Permission to mess up felt much better than fear of messing up. And I just imagine like the worst mess ups that could happen. Um, yes, and I mean the worst when you think about a kid going out. By the way, our crime rate now is much lower than it was in the 70s and 80s when some of us were wandering about, just for your information. But that's another topic. So, fear of messing up is what came up for me when we followed our role model of Huck Finn freedom through my son's freedom and back to me, and how I'm cultivating that for him. He's the oldest, but for all my children. So I'm curious for you if there's a place where you're getting hung up, like something that you want to give to your children, something that you think should be a quality of life thing for them, and a part of you is holding back on letting them experience that. I invite you to drop in the question of why. Just drop that into your body, close your eyes, and search for the answer. And then search for what would what would alleviate that? What would allow you to have that for yourself so that you can give it? You cannot give your children something you can't give yourself. And if you can do this work with your children, that means you've done it in yourself, and that means you will carry it to work, carry it to play, carry it everywhere with you, and work closer to becoming that integrated person who has integrity, right? Integrated integrity, where your thoughts, your words, your actions are all in alignment. So on that note, happy Working Parent Wednesday.